been a busy week for Inter Miami, with the team doing two things that people have been waiting a long time for. The team advanced above the playoff line, and it launched a jersey sponsor. Hello everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Miami Total Football Radio, aka Miami Total Football Radio. I am Franco Panizo, half of your co-hosting team of this podcast, the number one podcast on Inter Miami, providing you all the news, analysis, opinions, and more. And joining me, you have already heard her snicker a little bit there, is the unmatched Michelle Kaufman of the Miami Herald. Michelle, how are you doing on this fine Thursday night? I almost said Friday. We're not there yet. Thursday night.
Right. Well, I'm doing well now that I ate, because I'm Jewish and I was fasting for 24 hours for Yom Kippur. So I am much better now that I'm eating.
I remember you sending me a message yesterday. We were WhatsApping, and you were saying how you were starting the fast, and I asked you what the first thing you would eat as soon as the fast was over, and you ate. Share with the people what you had as your first meal after 24 plus hours of not eating.
Well, my first bite. Then I ate a normal meal, but my first bite after the fast is always one piece of challah bread, like the egg bread, braided bread. That's what I sort of start it with, and that's what I end it with. So that's what I did. Once again, you say a little prayer, you eat the little piece of bread, and then I had a normal dinner.
It must have tasted delicious. I can't imagine. I don't know. I don't think I've ever fasted 24 hours. Maybe I have. Maybe when my drunk 20-year back in those days, maybe I had a day where I didn't eat. But I haven't fasted like that in a long time. So kudos to you. We have a lot to talk about, Michelle, and we have not that much time to do it in, because this is a very quick turnaround. When people will be listening to this pod, it will be Friday, the day of the game against the New York Red Bulls. So we are going to preview that. We're going to recap Tuesday's very eventful 1-0 victory over Toronto FC, a game that was also controversial. We'll touch on the controversial plays, and we'll also do the Q&A session at the end of the podcast. So, Michelle, let's get to it. All right, Michelle, so we're going to do things a little bit differently on this pod, whereas normally we recap the most recent game, and then in the second segment, preview the upcoming game. We're going to flip it around. We're going to preview this match against the New York Red Bulls, because it's going to be Friday again when people listen to this, and then we'll recap the Toronto FC game in segment 2. But before we get into any game action, before we talk X's and O's and all of that, let's start with the news that came out this week. News we reported first here on Miami Total Football, and that is that Inter Miami at long last has a jersey sponsor, a major jersey sponsorship deal. That announcement came on Wednesday, a very formal, ritzy, and kind of glitzy affair there in the Northwest VIP section of Drive Pink Stadium. Jorge Mas was in attendance, Jose Mas was in attendance, Chris Henderson, Kieran Gibbs, almost all the big names with regarding to Inter Miami. David Beckham was not in attendance, but his jersey was there. You saw the La Familia, come out with David Beckham home jerseys, the white jerseys with the logo on the front and Beckham and the 23 on the back. So he was there in spirit. Michelle, what did you think about the look? Let's start there. What do you think about, well, first of all, the team getting a logo, and then what do you think about the look? Your opinion on the aesthetics from a personal preference standpoint.
Yeah, aesthetically, I think it looks good. It's not too busy. It's just 4 letters. So it's not something that's super busy or long, or it's not hard to pronounce or anything like that. I think it's great that they were one of only 2 teams out of 27 that didn't have a jersey sponsor. Colorado is the other one. And, it was long overdue. I mean, this is a team that is, came into the league as the global advertising heavy team that's going to, reach all over the world. And they didn't have a jersey sponsor. But I think it was complicated from my conversations with people that were in the know. They started out really thinking about a cruise. I think they were close to getting a sponsorship from a cruise company, from a cruise line. They wanted to do something that was very Miami, tropical, travel, whatever, at the start. And so I think they spoke to a few cruise lines. They had some very serious conversations. But then COVID hit. And I think, when COVID hit, obviously the cruise industry is one of the worst hit industries. So I think that those conversations dried up. And then, of course, there were talks last year and reports about David Beckham having a $200 million deal set up with Qatar Airlines, and with the Qatari sport organization. And that got a lot of pushback from, human rights groups to Jewish groups. It was going to be controversial. David Beckham happens to be 1/4 Jewish, by the way. Not that this is like the Jewish podcast. I've now covered Yom Kippur.
I think we've had the most Jewish coverage of any Miami Total Football Radio podcast
combined.
ever.
This is like the total Jewish references on this podcast tonight. But anyway, David Beckham is 1/4 Jewish. His grandfather is Jewish on his maternal side. That is something all Jewish people hang on to. We try to claim anybody that we can claim. So anyway, so I think that XBTO there's nothing controversial about it. Cryptocurrency is hot. It's new. It's trendy. Everybody's talking about it. To be honest, I do not understand it. If somebody would like to explain it to me, it's like monopoly money, or I guess it's like a credit card where, just because they say it's worth something, it is worth something. I'm still like, oh, dollars and cents. But, obviously we buy things with credit cards. We do Venmo, we do Zelle, we do all these things. So it's very popular. I know governments don't like it because they can't regulate it as much, but there are a whole lot of people that are investing in cryptocurrency. So, and I do know that the mayor of Miami, Francis Suarez, wants to make Miami the crypto capital of the universe. So he has been wooing and luring all kinds of cryptocurrency companies to come to Miami. He's allowing, I believe, like the city employees can use cryptocurrency, and he's really a big techie guy. Francis Suarez is a big techie guy. Francis Suarez is tight with Jorge. Marcelo Claure, we don't really know exactly what his role is with the team anymore, because I keep hearing he's going to sell his stake and all that, but he's also very involved with cryptocurrency. So it doesn't surprise me that a cryptocurrency company is the one that ended up sponsoring this team. And it is something sort of new and edgy and trendy, which is what Inter Miami, likes to sell itself as.
Now, I'll start with just the news, which is that they have the sponsor, and I think it's obviously a good bit of news for them. It's always been kind of the question that often gets asked about, in addition to the Miami Stadium. It's been often asked of Jorge Mas, what's the latest on this? A lot of fans wanted to see a sponsor on the jersey, felt that the jerseys were a bit too plain without one, or didn't have the legitimacy that teams around the world, big teams around the world, have when they have that sponsor across the chest. Some people don't like that. Some people prefer just the shirt with no sponsor, but obviously there was a very vocal segment of the fans that wanted one, and Inter Miami now also gets more economic resources to do different things now as part of this deal. So it's reported to be worth $4 or $5 million. I did ask Jorge Mas yesterday at the event how long the deal was for. Obviously, he didn't give me financial details. Those are just details that have been reported since then. But he did say that the deal is worth, or excuse me, not worth, the deal is for potentially 4 years. So potentially means to me that there's an option in there for maybe a fourth year, that fourth year is not guaranteed, but expect to see XBTO for the foreseeable future on the front of the Inter Miami jerseys. As for the aesthetics, I agree with you that it's just 4 letters and then a little logo there. I don't think it looks bad. It's not overwhelming, or it's not huge on top on the front where it's overpowering and that's what your eyes just solely focus on. So I don't think it's bad. I think it looks better on the away jersey, the La Palma black jersey, because it gives it a little bit more pink and it makes the jersey pop a little bit more. The one on the home jersey, not so much because it's in black lettering and the logo's in black, so it doesn't really do it for me there. But Michelle, are you of the belief, or again, this is personal opinion, personal preference, likes, dislikes, so this is, this just comes down to each individual, but are you of the thought that you like a logo on a jersey or a corporate sponsor on a jersey, or do you prefer just a plain kit with nothing on it besides the crest and the manufacturer?
Well, I don't know if it's because I'm 56 years old, but I'm pretty old school. If I were given the choice, even though nowadays, everything is a walking billboard now in sports. Every athlete in every sport is a walking billboard. I personally don't like walking billboards. I don't like companies' names all over stuff. Stadiums, I get it, but I don't even like the names of stadiums now. Back in the day, it was, Dolphin Stadium. It was Candlestick Park. It was, you know what I mean? I mean, it was, the stadiums just had names, and that's what we knew them as. And now every stadium is the name of a company. Every athlete is wearing, one logo on their sleeve, one logo across their chest, one logo on their shoe, one logo on their socks. It seems like there's just, to me, it's too much. To me, there's too much corporate. I understand there's a lot of corporate money in sports. I get it. It's a huge economic thing. And these sponsors want more and more signage. But if I were given a choice,
Sure.
me personally, I just like a plain kit with just the name of the team on it without any corporate logos. And I also just think it makes things less controversial. Even just like Qatar Airways, there are people that I know who will not buy that jersey, even if they love that team. They will not wear a jersey that has a certain corporation's name on it, even if they like the team. So it just makes life a little more complicated. And I just think it looks cleaner and slicker with no logos. And I like stadium names that are not the name. I mean, I'll be honest. If I had to pick between Inter Miami Stadium and Drive Pink Stadium, I would pick Inter Miami Stadium. If I had to pick between Miami Heat Arena and FTX Arena, I would pick Miami Heat Arena. That's just me. I like to keep sports to sports. And if the corporations want to sponsor, then it used to be in the past that it was a little bit more subtle. I feel like now the sponsorships are really in your face to the point where some jerseys and kits, the name of the company to me is bigger, and more prominent than the name of the actual team.
Yes, for me, I've always been, growing up, I was always of the thought that it should have a logo on the front. Just makes it less plain. When when the jerseys first came out, we're talking 2020, ahead of the expansion season. No, those jerseys look pretty plain, especially the home jersey looks pretty plain on the field. But I guess with time, I've also kind of come to appreciate it a little bit more. So I guess this is my way of saying I'm on the fence. I'm not really sure if I'm on the side of, yes, a jersey needs to have a corporate sponsor on it, or if I'm of the belief that it looks better without one. If I had to choose, I would say I would prefer a logo on Inter Miami's jerseys because without them, they're just a little too plain for my personal taste. But that's just my opinion. I do want to touch on something because I'm not very familiar with crypto and that industry and what it all means is one of the questions I had for Jorge Mas yesterday. But he did say this is not cryptocurrency. This is a company that lives in that field or operates in that business, but it's not actually a currency. It helps manage the currency, I think my understanding is from what he said, but it's not actual currency like Bitcoin or any of the like. So this is a different type of company. We'll see what comes of it. Supposedly there's going to be some initiatives, and Jorge Mas said they could come as soon as November, but more likely in 2022. Fans will have to be in stadium to experience these in-game initiatives that the team is looking to do with XBTO. But let's switch gears and focus back on the field. And we have a game to attend on Friday night because Inter Miami returns home to Drive Pink Stadium, or Inter Miami Stadium if you want to go with the non-corporate name, and they take on the New York Red Bulls, the struggling New York Red Bulls. Michelle, what should we expect from this game from Inter Miami, and what should we expect from the New York Red Bulls?
See, just to preface, we're just talking about sponsorship names and the New York Red Bulls right there. The name of the team is an advertisement for a product. Anyway, the question is what to expect, right? I think it's going to be a really interesting game. I mean, for one thing, Gonzalo Higuain will be back, which is big. I think now he has been playing.
He missed the Tuesday game, right? He missed the Tuesday game. Since we're doing this backwards, just to explain to people maybe they didn't see the game or are just catching up, because we do have people from all over the world that listen to the podcast. So if they didn't catch games because of the time difference, Gonzalo Higuain did not play on Tuesday. He was rested.
He stayed home. He stayed home to rest. What a nice thing. I'd like to stay home sometimes to rest from my job. Today I don't feel like working I'm going to rest today. Anyway. He took some time to rest, and he's going to be well rested, right? Tomorrow night, he'll be ready. Phil Neville told us that Robbie Robinson and Gregory are both big question marks for Friday night's game, which came as a bit of a surprise to me. Anyway, Robbie did not have his best game, but he has been playing well, and he's a big weapon and obviously a very talented guy and has been a regular starter in, I believe, 5 of the last 6 games. But Phil seemed to think that, they want to make sure they manage his minutes correctly because he got injured earlier in the year and he's not really used to playing 90 minutes, and he did play 90 minutes against Toronto. So he's a question mark. And then Gregory has some nagging injuries apparently that have been bothering him. So he also is a question mark. As far as the Red Bulls, it's a very young team. It's a team that, they've been kind of up and down. They're not that far behind Miami in the standings. The thing is, the standings, the way they are, with 11 games to go for Miami, 1 minute Miami was in 5th place after beating Toronto, but then 24 hours later they were in back to 8th place. So they were in the playoff line for about 24 hours, and then after that they moved back to 8th. So right now it really is a numbers game. They have 11 games to go. They have 1 game in hand ahead of the teams that are right ahead of them, so that works in their favor. But really, every single game, 3 points is a big difference from 1 point. Like, settling for ties is not really in the position that they're in. They really need to get a lot of points to get ahead of the teams, because even if they win, if the teams ahead of them are winning, that doesn't do them any good. So they need to collect as many points as possible. The Red Bulls are not a bad team. They are behind them in the standings in 11th place, but they're not a bad team. I mean, they beat Columbus. They've lost by 1 goal to Chicago. They lost by 1 goal to Montreal. They lost by 1 goal. They tied DC. So this is not a bad team. It's a team that's been having mediocre results, a little bit up and down, but they're very young. They love to high press, which means Miami cannot make mistakes in stupid positions. And we have seen this team make some mistakes in areas, near the box that are dangerous. And this is the kind of team that is going to have numbers up there. And if they make a mistake, they will pounce on it and take advantage of that. So they're not a team that relies as much on possession and stuff. They really like to press high and capitalize on the other team's mistakes. And so Miami is going to have to be very careful with the ball, especially in certain parts of the field.
I covered the New York Red Bulls very closely during my time in the Northeast. It was actually the beat that I jumped on when I first moved to New Jersey before moving to New York City. And I've seen their transition, or I saw their transition up close and personal, from being a star-studded team like Inter Miami is now in terms of where it stands in the league, with big-name players like Gonzalo Higuain and Rodolfo Pizarro and Blaise Matuidi. Back in those days, it was Thierry Henry, Tim Cahill, Rafa Marquez. That was the Red Bulls that I saw at first, and then it transitioned into this younger, more energetic, high-pressing team. It had worked initially during those first few years with Jesse Marsch as head coach. This high-pressing caused a lot of problems for a lot of teams in the league, but the Red Bulls have invested less and less, and their team has suffered in a big way. You said they're not a bad team. I think this is the worst Red Bulls team that I've seen since I started covering the league a decade ago. And they do have Andres Reyes on the roster, which is notable because he's a former Inter Miami player. He has not played all that much this season. He's only gotten 8 appearances. He came off the bench in their midweek game against the Columbus Crew. Maybe he could start on this one because, again, he has seen some time before this substitute cameo. He had started the last 3 games for the Red Bulls, or his last 3 appearances were starts. So maybe they put him onto the field on Friday night because maybe he'll be motivated to play against his former team and show them what they missed out on.
That they made a mistake.
Yeah. And when I interviewed him before the season began, he didn't say anything of the like about, I want to go prove them wrong, but he did say that he did know when the first game between the two sides was. And obviously,
I'm sure he's had this. Yeah, I'm sure this date has been circled, and especially it's here in Miami.
Yeah.
He's going to be coming back here, and he's definitely going to want to show anybody who gets dropped from a team, they're always motivated the next time they go play there. There's no question.
Yeah, I remember, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but I remember Brandon Barkley, who played for DC United, but then signed with the Red Bulls. He was cut by DC United, or let go by DC United one offseason. Red Bulls signed him. He starts in a game against them and scores 2 goals. And he was a right back. He never scored goals. He scored 2 goals against them. And then after the game, he had one of the best quotes was, I had this game circled on my calendar, since the offseason or since the schedule came out. So if we do see Andres Reyes tomorrow, expect him
Watch
to be
out.
a bit motivated. Yeah. He has scored 2 goals this season. He hasn't played that much, but he has scored 2 goals, his first MLS goals. He scored them this year for the Red Bulls, so he has been a bit more of a threat than he was, at least on set pieces, than when he was with Inter Miami in 2020. But just to talk about just the collective of the Red Bulls, like you said, they are a high-pressing team, like to force turnovers up the field, like to hit you in transition very, very quickly. They don't have the star power that they used to have. They don't really have the difference makers. This is a game that Inter Miami should win. If they can avoid playing into the Red Bulls' strengths, which again are forcing those turnovers or pouncing on loose or errant passes, if Inter Miami can avoid doing that, Inter Miami has a very good chance of winning this one, and I could even see them winning by multiple goals if Inter Miami is sharper on the day with the ball and avoids those mistakes. So that's my key to the game, is avoiding those turnovers, avoiding those mistakes at the back. If you do that, I think with Gonzalo Higuain coming back in, I think they have the quality to get the job done, even though Inter Miami hasn't been attacking all that well as of late. A lot of the performances have left something to be desired, or a lot to be desired in terms of in possession and creating. But again, I think with being at home, the form that they're in, the confidence that the team has, I think they'll find a goal or 2 in this one against the Red Bulls if you can avoid those mistakes. So for me, the key to the game is avoiding those mistakes. Don't play into the Red Bulls' hands. What's the key to the game for you, Michelle?
Gonzalo is the other key. I mean, he's really been, after the beginning of the year again, where he was just not living up to expectations and he was not in shape and whatever. He took that little fitness break, whatever that was, and he came back. And since then, and since his family arrived, we talked to him about it, having his wife here and his daughter, he's just like a different person. He just seems so much happier. He's not frustrated and complaining as much.
Smiling a lot more in the press conferences.
He's smiling. I didn't even used to know what his teeth looked like. I mean, he's smiling. He looked like kind of like a grumpy old man before, and now he's smiling, he's enjoying, he's celebrating. And when people make mistakes, he still gets frustrated. He's obviously a very top quality player. And that's something that a lot of star athletes, no matter what the sport, when they join a team, it's so easy for them. It comes easy for them that when another guy can't do it, they get frustrated, like, why can't he do that? Why can't he do, I can do that. Why can't he do that? Because he's a special player. He really is. And we're seeing it now. We didn't see it for a while, but there's a reason that he's had the career that he's had. And when he's on the field, right now, it's a different team when he's on the field. He plays his position very well. If the ball isn't coming to him, then he moves back a little bit and tries to, get into the action more and create more. I think he's going to be a huge factor in this game.
All right. Well, there is one player. I will name drop one more player for the Red Bulls that you should keep an eye on, or that Inter Miami definitely needs to do a good job of, and that's Caden Clark, the young midfielder. He's cooled off. He started the season in a very good form. He's
the one who's like 17, right?
Yeah, and he's already gotten a move to Europe. He's bound for Europe after this MLS season. He does have the quality to maybe give you that spark if you're looking for one in the attack. Although, again, he's cooled off and it's part of just being a young player and trying to grow into your own. As for the lineup, this is the 11 I think that Inter Miami will go with. I think it'll be Nick Marsman in goal. I think Lewis Morgan returns to the right wing back spot after starting on the left side in the last game against Toronto FC. I think you'll have that same that same center back trio of Leandro Gonzalez Pires, Nicolas Figal, and Christian Mccoon. And I think at left wing back you'll have Brek Shea back in there. Your midfield, although Phil Neville said that Gregory is a question mark, and he said he's a massive doubt. I'm not sure I'm buying into that. I think I've picked up on a tell of Phil's, and I think Gregory could very easily start in this one, especially given that Inter Miami might need an enforcer type against the very energetic New York Red Bulls. You might need that endless motor that Gregory provides. So I could see Gregory starting. I could also see him just getting a rest and it being part of a plan from Phil Neville and the coaching staff to give the center midfielders some rest. Blaise Matuidi obviously didn't start in the Tuesday game, so maybe it would be Gregory's turn in this one, but I think he starts. I will venture to guess that Gregory starts, and I think Blaise Matuidi will be there alongside him. And then up top, I think you'll see Gonzalo Higuain at the striker position, Rodolfo Pizarro on the left wing, and we'll see Indiana Vassilev on the right wing. Michelle, do you think that will be the lineup Inter Miami goes with, or do you think there will be a different change in there here or there?
Um, I think you're probably right. I'm wondering yeah, I think definitely in the back it's going to be the same back three, the same keeper. I do think Lewis Morgan will go back to the right wing back and Breck Shea to the left wing back. That really worked well for all those previous games. So I see them going back to that. As far as Gregory, and I don't know what these nagging injuries are. Do you think they worry at all about how many yellow cards is he carrying?
I think he's on 9. I think he's
Is he
on
in
9.
danger of?
Yeah, the next one he
Okay.
gets means he's suspended for a game. But even with that, I mean, at this point, Inter Miami's in not must-win territory, but they need to focus on the games that they're in. Now, I think it comes down more to rest. I don't know if, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe he does have niggling injuries, but if this was a must-win game tomorrow, if this was like you either win and you get into the playoffs or you don't, I think Gregory would start. I think if they do sit him, it's more maybe giving him a rest as just to keep him somewhat fresh for what remains of the season. Same as what they did with Blaise Matuidi. I think it could just be a planned approach, a planned rest, as opposed to him really not being at 100%. But I do think he'll start.
Right.
I do think he'll start.
Yeah, no, it's the same with Gonzalo. I mean, they're definitely managing these guys'
Yeah.
minutes, and I think their next game is it Nashville that's next?
Nashville at home on Wednesday nights.
Yeah, so that's a very good opponent that they're going to play very soon on Wednesday. So they've got, I think they're trying to be strategic.
Yes.
They're trying to be strategic about who they play and when, and especially the guys that are, doing the most running or the guys that are older, whatever. I think they're definitely managing those guys' minutes more. Up front, I agree with you that it seems like he's going to rest Robbie, although I don't know. I mean, he didn't play. He didn't have his best game, but he's not injured. He's not injured. Just being tired. I mean, he's so young. He's one of the youngest guys on the team. I don't know.
Let's touch on that topic a little bit more because obviously Robbie Robinson's been a key part of the attack this year. I think it comes down to not wanting to overwork him. Phil made it a point to point out that Robbie Robinson only played his second full
90-minute
game. Yes.
But he doesn't have to play 90 minutes. You could play him and then take him out. No one is saying he has to play 90 minutes. But you've got a weapon like that during the height of this run, when they were scoring the most goals, he was involved in a lot of it. And to be honest, the trip to Chile, it was a disruption. You know what I mean? I definitely noticed a difference in him pre-Chile and post-Chile. I hate to say it, PC and BC, BC and PC. He was really on a roll. He really was on a roll and was instrumental in several of those goals during that run. He and Pizarro both. And then when they both went on international duty, and these are things that happen in soccer. These players are on a run, they're in a rhythm with their teammates, and then they go away. In his case, it was a really difficult 5 days because I don't think he realized what a big deal it was when you go to the Chilean national team and on the eve of the Brazil World Cup qualifier, you say, nah, I'm okay, I came here, I saw, not interested right now. I'm going to go back and think things over. That did not go over very well. And, that was a pretty tough week for him. And I think it may have had an effect. There may have been a cost, that he's just coming still back from all that and is not maybe quite in the form that he was before that. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. My daughter's a psych major. Maybe I'm just trying to be too much of a armchair psychologist. But anyway, to me, you've got a guy like that who's such a weapon. And when he's in the right position, I don't think he played as well, in the 9 position. I really don't, with his back to the goal. I think he's much better where they had been playing him on the left side, running, taking on guys. And, I think he's really good in that role. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. And he can take guys on. He's not afraid to take guys on. And I think he played better that way than as a 9. But as long as you have Gonzalo back, but I don't know. Maybe they go with Indiana. They're going to play probably Pizarro, like you said. They could go with Indiana. Maybe they bring Robbie in, bring him in the second half.
Yeah.
And just have him play. That may be the way they go.
Yeah, I think he's going to get rested. I think it's a matter of them not wanting to overwork him and risk injury. So I don't think it's a matter of him being tired. I think it's more of a matter of them just trying to be strategic because they know that his muscles have shown to maybe not handle the strenuous day-to-day of professional soccer all
Yeah,
that
the
well.
grind. It's very different, right?
So
Clemson,
he's
playing
still
college
learning
soccer.
how
Yeah,
that goes.
it's a big jump. We forget, but we've talked about it, Franco. Like, to go from Clemson soccer, he's the only, I believe, or was there someone else we came up with? He may be the only player on the team who played college soccer. This is a team of guys who have been playing professional soccer since they were teenagers. No matter what club they were on, it doesn't matter. They were playing professional soccer with grown men since they were teenagers, everyone on this team. And he went through the college route, which is fine, but there's a transition, going from college soccer to professional soccer. And, Gonzalo said it the other night when we asked about him, about Robbie. He said he has great potential, but he still has a lot of improving to do, physically, and also with having field vision and just getting mentally stronger. So he's kind of a project. He's a guy that I know that Phil cares a lot about and has great hopes for, and they're trying to really manage him the right way.
I think if this, again, similar to Gregory, I think if tomorrow was a must-win game, if it was MLS Cup final or a playoff do-or-die game, I think Robbie Robinson would start. But since they have a longer-term vision in terms of what remains of the season, I think they will rest him, especially with what Phil said today. Michelle, quickly, what do you think happens in this one? What is your prediction for this game? Jose Armando, who's been on the last couple of pods, he's been nailing them left and right. Steve at one point had a good little streak there where he was getting a lot of them correct too. My family started calling him El Brujo because they listened to the pod. So Michelle, there's no pressure on you whatsoever to get this right.
Oh my God.
But what do you think happens tomorrow?
Well, let's see. If we're going to go by the law of averages, they've had 4 clean sheets in a row. What are the odds that they're going to have 5 clean sheets in a row after they had like 1 clean sheet the entire season leading, up until this run? So I'm going to predict that New York will score 1, just because, not because I really think that there's some great scoring machine. I just think that the odds of going 5 games in a row without giving up a single goal, even a PK, a free kick, who knows what, is I don't know. I think their luck is going to run out at some point, or their fortune. I shouldn't say luck, but their good fortune in clean sheets. And I may be wrong, and I'm sure that if Nick Marsman is listening, he's probably licking his chops right now. So I'm going to agree with you that Miami's going to score more. I am going to predict, I'm picking between 2-1 and 3-1. Let's see, how optimistic do I want to be? I'm going to pick a Miami 2-1 victory.
2-1 victory. All right. So we both have the same prediction because I'm also going 2-1 victory for Inter Miami in this one. I do think that I think they can win this one by multiple goals if they play to their best or play close to their best, but given how they've looked as of late, I'm not sure that if they'll make that much improvements. Although, again, I think the New York Red Bulls are in a pretty bad way, and that Inter Miami can take advantage of their weaknesses. So 2-1 for Inter Miami. We both have the same prediction. We'll see how it goes, and we'll talk about it, I guess, tomorrow night in the press box, and we'll see how our prediction holds up. Let's take a quick break because we've talked quite a bit about this game coming up. We still have the Toronto FC match to recap and review, and those controversial plays as well. So let's take a break, and we'll do all of that after this.
Expectation for me is for us to play at a certain level, and that's the demands that I want to put on these players. Is that sometimes you win games of football, and we were probably lucky tonight to win a game of football. We won a game of football because of the courage of probably a player that just keeps growing and getting better and better, and that's Christian Mccoon. And the way he went forward to win the penalty, and then the courage to stand up and take the penalty, I thought was sensational. That boy's went right to the very top with that kind of attitude, confidence, bravery, and the way he took his penalty was first class. So I'm proud, but I expect better.
Okay, Michelle, we looked forward. Now let's look back. Inter Miami won on Tuesday night in Toronto against Toronto FC at BMO Field, a 1-0 victory. The heart-stopping Herons, or the heart attack Herons, whatever the nickname you guys want to give them, is they did it again. 95th minute penalty kick from unexpected hero Christian Mccoon. We'll touch on his performance in just a bit, but this was the starting lineup from Inter Miami. You had Nick Marsman in goal. Your 2 wingbacks on the right was Calvin Leardam. On the left was Lewis Morgan. The center back trio of Leandro Gonzalez Pires, Nicolas Figal, and Christian Mccoon from right to left went untouched. Your midfield line was Captain Gregory and Jay Chapman, who got his first start in a long time. And then up top, you had a front three of Indiana Vasilov on the right, Robbie Robinson at the 9, and on the left wing was Rodolfo Pizarro. Michelle, what was your biggest takeaway from this one? Was it Christian Mccoon's performance? What was the thing that stood out to you the most after this game?
A couple things stood out. One was how much they missed Gonzalo. You know, I just think that's a really hard position, the 9, and it showed that, you know, they missed his, not just finishing, because sometimes he doesn't finish, but he is a pretty good finisher, and also just his movement around the box and his ability to find people. He's a very good passer. Yeah, Mccoon's performance, I mean, that was very gutsy, what he did. First of all, you know, this is a guy that has not had that much playing time he has in the last few weeks. But I mean, for a guy that young, who's not one of the big stars of the team or hadn't been, to come charging up the field and to get that penalty, to draw that penalty, and then so immediately to want to be the guy who takes it. He was just so determined and so confident in that moment. And I really felt like it was a coming out party for him. It was like, he arrived on the stage in that game. He has been playing well, but I think the way he took charge in that final moment where it really was do or die. It was like, we're going to either get 1 point or 3. And this one guy, carried the whole team on his shoulders and got them those 2 extra points. And then, the way he made that PK was quite unusual, his style, but he was so confident in it and it worked. And he got them the win. I mean, he really did. He got them the win. They played somewhat sloppy for parts of the game. I mean, they did have a clean sheet. So, they got another shutout, 4th in a row, which is very commendable. But their attack was a little bit disjointed. And when they did get opportunities, they didn't finish. And, that is okay against Toronto. But, they were playing a team that had given up 49 goals this season, which is the most in MLS. And they were not able to score 1 goal, for 94 minutes against a team that had given up by far the most goals in this league. So that, was not so great. And Phil Neville said that he was not happy. He was angry at the end of that game. He said, we'll take the 3. We're happy we got the win, but he was not happy with the way they played. So I think that's what I would take away in summary, is that good teams, whatever the sport may be, and I've covered all of them, good teams find ways to win even when they're playing like crap. And, they don't always look pretty, but the teams that have confidence and that have a lot of belief and good spirit, those teams find a way to win. They also tend to get some good luck and some good bounces, which they certainly got. And that's what happens. And then losing teams, which I've covered a lot of those, losing teams, everything just seems to go wrong. The ball never bounces their way. Things never work out. When there's a chance to win a game, they don't. When they take a PK, they miss it. And the guys get a little bit demoralized. And it's just, this game was not pretty by any means. They did not play beautiful soccer. They definitely missed Gonzalo. But at the end of the day, they left Toronto with 3 points. And that was huge for them. And I think it's a huge confidence boost.
So I want to touch on 2 of the things you mentioned, because for me, the biggest takeaway was the attack and how it continues to struggle. And look, Inter Miami is a far and away better team now than it was 2 months ago. Far and away better. The results show that. Performances have shown that. But that the attack could not score against the worst team in the league that is in shambles defensively and that had 10 men, because that's something we did not mention. Toronto FC was down a man since the 37th minute.
Minor detail. The worst team in the league had given up 49 goals, and there were only 10 of them.
Yeah. The 37th, Kamar Lawrence was sent off in the 37th minute for pulling down Robbie Robinson on a play that Jay Chapman hits an exquisite through ball in through the middle. Robbie Robinson's about to break in on goal. Kamar Lawrence brings him down, straight red for Kamar Lawrence. Inter Miami was up a man for more than a half in this game, and it did not look like it. It did not translate onto the field. You did not notice that on the field because Toronto FC was the more dangerous side in the second half. They forced Nick Marsman into a few saves, whereas Inter Miami didn't create almost anything in this one in terms of in the final third. So that to me is concerning. I think that this is not a sustainable formula for success because performance levels tend to give you a sign of what's to come. So Inter Miami needs to turn that around if they want to keep this good run of form going and then make some noise in the playoffs if they do get there. But the other point was on Christian Mccoon, who, like you said, has a game-winning performance. Very solid at the back, as he has been for quite some time. He's been very quietly doing his job excellently. But in this one, maybe he gets his just reward for that because he scores the game-winning goal off the penalty kick, and he's the one that draws the penalty kick as well with a great surging run forward. He combines with 2-1-2 passes or wall passes. Paredes, as we say in Spanish, he does the first one with Blaise Matuidi, gets the ball back, then does another one with Robbie Robinson, gets into the penalty area, and then is brought down by Chris Mavinga. So great play from Christian Mccoon to set that up, and then obviously the guts. As someone told me yesterday at the event, Christian Mccoon had a lot of guts, very big guts.
Very big guts, yes.
Another word may have been used there, but I'm just going with guts for.
I'm sure another word was used.
This is a family show. This is a family show.
A word that we, something that we eat for breakfast. Yes.
Yeah, very big guts to take that penalty, and I fully agreed with that because Christian Mccoon, as soon as the whistle's blown, he goes to the ball, picks it up, and says, "This is mine." And I believe he fended off Lewis Morgan's attempt to take the penalty kick, and I think he might have even done the same to Blaise Matuidi. And Blaise Matuidi is a World Cup winner. He is one of the most experienced players on the roster. To tell a player with that much experience, no, this is mine, as a 21-year-old, as a defender, that takes a lot of confidence in you. So I don't think that's a minor detail. That takes a lot of
breakfast foods, yes.
I don't think that's a minor detail. And look, then he converts, he gets the job done, he slots it home. The take was unconventional, kind of Joseph Martinez-esque, which is a compatriot of his, so I don't know if there's something along the lines there, but it looked a lot like the Atlanta United striker's run-up on his penalty kicks. Regardless, it goes in, and it was well-placed. It's not just a well-placed shot because it went in, it was actually tucked away nice into the bottom right corner. So, great performance from Christian Mccoon. He was named to the MLS Team of the Week earlier today, Thursday, when we're recording this podcast. So, he also did his little dinosaur celebration afterwards, which is the first time we've gotten a chance to see it. His nickname is Dinosaurio in the team. So, it was a little nice moment for him and probably, again, a just reward for the good performances he's been putting in.
Do we know why is that his nickname?
I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of his profile as a person or if there's something else behind that. I've been looking to find that out.
Next press conference, I want to know the genesis of that nickname.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because of his perfil or his profile of how he's shaped or his body composition. But I don't know. It's a good question. We definitely need to ask to find the answer to that one. But with that penalty kick that he scored came one of two controversial plays in this one. Two plays that Toronto FC went to the referee and said, "Look, you have to change the call or you have to make this call," and we're going to dive into that because I think Inter Miami got a little lucky in this one. I think that they got pretty lucky to take the 3 points in this one because not only on the penalty kick, but a play minutes before that Nick Marsman makes a save on. We'll start with which one you want to start with? You want to start with the penalty kick or do you want to start with the save from Nick Marsman? Let's
start with the save because that was in real time when they showed it, and they showed it a few times, I mean, it looked to me that the complete ball crossed. He made a great save, but it looked like the ball came in and then he whacked it out. They said that they didn't have it was not conclusive. The replays were not conclusive. But if I was a Toronto fan or Toronto player, I would not be happy about that one.
They were pretty miffed about it on the field. And look, that's just for anybody that might not have seen the game or has not seen the play. Inter Miami had the ball in its defensive third. Nicolas Figal makes a back pass to Nick Marsman. Nick Marsman takes a poor first touch while he tries to control the ball, and Jefferson Soteldo comes darting at him. So under pressure, Nick Marsman just plays a pass. Instead of smashing the ball, he plays a pass to the right side. It's intercepted, and then quickly taking a shot on goal. To me, in real time, it looked like a goal. It looked like a goal to me. Watching it on the replays afterwards, slowing it down, I still think it was a goal. Now, it's not called on the field. That's what matters the most. It wasn't called on the field, so Inter Miami gets away with one there. They couldn't even go to VAR, or they didn't go to VAR because, like you mentioned, there was no camera angle or shot that showed whether it was a clear and obvious error on the field. So to overturn a call on the field, it has to be clear, has to be conclusive, and it wasn't. So Inter Miami maybe escapes one there. Phil Neville, even after the game, said we're probably a little bit lucky to get away with a win in this one. He wasn't referencing that play specifically because that wasn't what we were asking him about, but he did utter that phrase in the press conference. So I thought it was a goal. That was the first controversial play. The next controversial play came on the game winner because on the penalty kick, because of Christian Mccoon's unorthodox run-up, and it's very delayed, several players from both teams encroached the penalty area. And by the letter of the law, that means that the penalty kick has to be retaken. But it wasn't. They just awarded the goal. Inter Miami won, took the 3 points, and got out of Dodge. They got out of Toronto the next morning. It should have been retaken, though, because Federico Higuain blatantly steps into the box. Obviously, he's not the only one. Again, some Toronto FC players did as well. I think Breck Shea might have gotten in just before the penalty kick was taken. Again, a byproduct of Christian Mccoon's unorthodox run-up. They didn't know when he was going to take the kick.
Because it was in slow motion. Yeah. It was almost like watching a slow motion video.
Yeah, he jumped, he leaped, and then he kicked it.
He made this big giant leap that looked like he was almost flying through the air off his right foot, and then, it's a very slow approach.
Yeah, and obviously, as any player that's outside of the penalty area, their job is to run forward in case the ball comes out, in case a save's made, in case it hit the post, to try to hit in a potential rebound. So they should have had to retake that, or Christian Mccoon should have had to retake that. That's what Toronto FC, I'm sure, was arguing, but it does not happen, and Inter Miami wins the game. I'm going to say that, look, I asked Jay Chapman this today. I think that the calls and the bounces are going Inter Miami's way right now. If you go back to the game against Columbus, Inter Miami wins off of a terrible back pass from Josh Williams. So things are just starting to bounce Inter Miami's way, and I think it's just an evening out of bounces and calls that maybe they didn't get earlier in the year when they were on that poor run of form. Because if you can go back to the Atlanta United game on May 9th, I believe it was, where there was 3 handballs that were not called that Inter Miami thought should have been called. So I think it's just part of the old saying that these type of decisions or these type of bounces even out over the course of the season. I'm sure Toronto FC doesn't feel that way, but I think with regards to Inter Miami, that's kind of something that's happening here. And I think, Jay Chapman did kind of say that he thought so too, that it's just a balancing out. Although he did say you have to force, the lucky bounces as well. You have to be in the positions to make them happy. But I do think that they have a bit of good fortune. Lady Luck is shining down on them a little bit right now.
Absolutely. And that's what I said. Good teams tend to have some good luck, and bad teams have bad luck. It just happens. But it is true what he's saying. I mean, the reason that there was even a controversy about Christian Mccoon's PK is the fact that he got that PK and that he made that play. If he had not made that charge to draw that penalty and to take that PK, then the game would have just ended 0-0. And there would not have been that opportunity for that controversy. The reason that there was a controversy is that he took a PK in the first place. The reason he took a PK is because he made a really heads-up, gutsy play. So, this is soccer. It's one of those things that happens.
Yeah, and it's funny that you said that because when I play, the soccer video games with my friends, the Pro Evolution Soccer or FIFA, which I don't really play too much, but whenever we play, and I'm actually pretty good at soccer video games, so I tend to win more often than not, humble brag, but my friends always are like, oh, you're so lucky, you got that, oh, it's a gift, it's lucky. I'm like, oh, winner's luck is what I tell them. So that's what Inter Miami has right now. Inter Miami has a bit of winner's luck going for them. But let's leave it there, Michelle. We'll end the recap of the game against Toronto FC there. We still have the Q&A session to do. I don't believe you took part in the last one when you came on earlier this season, so will you stick around for this Q&A session?
Sure,
okay.
Absolutely.
All right, so we'll get to that after this. Okay, Michelle, it's Q&A time. We have a few questions to get to. This is your first one. I'm excited. Hopefully you are too. Let's see how you do during our Q&A session, because sometimes the questions are very soccer focused. Sometimes they come with some wit or some snark. So let's see how we do here. First question, and it's a question from earlier in the week. It's from Sal Paradise, and he said, do you think Shockcrass and Alvarado get cut after this season? After today's news, it's looking very unlikely they will be able to contribute anything. Also, any news on the keeper trial list? So again, this question came in after we recorded the pod earlier in the week, so I told Sal we would get to his question on this pod, which is why we're starting with his. Do you want to start, Michelle, or do you want me to start?
You can start.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't think Alvarado gets cut. I think that he's a longer term project. I don't know how much money he's on. I don't believe his salary was included in the last MLS player salary announcement. But I would imagine he's a longer-term project given his age, that maybe they'll keep him around to show what he's got. I think Shockcrass, given his age, given his injury history, I think they'll probably decide to part ways there. That's just obviously my opinion, not any information I have. Also, the keeper you're referring to is Clement Diop, who has been training with the team since last week. So that's news we reported on Miami Total Futbol. As far as I know, he's still just training with the team, still trialing. Not sure if he's going to get signed, although if he's around, I think, or I would suspect that maybe they do give him a deal when all is said and done.
I agree. I mean, I think Shockcrass, the thing is, I'm not sure he fits in with the way they're playing right now. Even if he were healthy, right now, if he were healthy, where would you put him? Their back three, Christian Mccoon has really, LGP and Nico Figal play very well together side by side. And one of the things that Phil mentioned is that Christian Mccoon also plays very well with those other two because they all speak Spanish. And, that cannot be understated. I'm sorry, but language and language barriers do happen in sports. And those are three guys who can all speak in Spanish with each other. They have an understanding of each other, of how they play. They can communicate well. Ryan Shockcrass is a different type of player. He's a big, tall guy, good for set pieces, for corner kicks and things like that. But the way that they're playing, the aggression and the athleticism with which they are defending right now, that I don't think that that's really his style of play. So I'm not sure. I guess he could come in and come off the bench, but I don't know that he fits in with what they're doing right now. Even if he were healthy, I don't know. It's a terrible thing to say. Would they be as good as they are if he were in there? I don't know. Who knows? We don't really know.
I don't think so. Mm-hmm. He just not just necessarily because of the defensive aspect. I just don't think with the ball at his feet he's all that good. Like, it's kind of like a hot potato to him. He kind of likes to get rid of it as soon as he has it. So this formation and the three center backs, they have had to see a lot of the ball. Christian Mccoon regularly ends up being the Inter Miami player with the most touches. So you have to be a little bit more comfortable with the ball at your feet in this formation.
LGP too.
LGP all three of them. LGP, Figal.
LGP they bring it up. Half the time, you're looking and Figal is all the way up at the box, or LGP is up there. They're very comfortable dribbling, moving forward. If they don't see a good pass, they just take it themselves, and Alvarado, I'm sorry we haven't had a chance to see him. We got introduced to him. I talked to him on the phone. He was all fired up and injured his knee. So we really have no idea what he does or what he can do or what he can bring. But I do know that Phil Neville compared him to Figal and said that he's a Figal type player. And when I spoke to him, he said that he plays a similar style to Nico Figal. So if you're on a team and you can have two Nico Figal type players, I think that would be a benefit to the team. So I would think that they'll give him a chance once he gets healthy. And I don't know about Diop either. I think, as far as I know, he's still on trial and has not signed a contract yet.
So I do want to add something on Alvarado, because I've seen him play with the U.S. men's national team. Obviously, this was almost a decade ago or 5-6 years ago, but he is in that technical mold, more of a technical center back than he is maybe a physical center back. I don't know if he has that much speed or if he's that fast, but I think he's of the technical mold, and I think that's why they brought him in. I think that they're looking at him longer term, especially with the sanctions coming up and knowing that they're going to probably have to make some tough decisions with regards to the roster. Steve Brenner on this podcast has reported more than once that one of or both of Leandro Gonzalez Pires and Nicolas Figal will have to go next season just to make the numbers work on the back end. So I think Ventura Alvarado is a longer-term play. We'll have to see how he fits in with the team. Then the next question comes from, and I'm going to get his name correct this time because last time he told me how to pronounce his name, and it's Jędrzej Witt. He's coming from, I'm trying to remember exactly where. He's in Poland. That's right. He is in Poland. And it's a 2-tweet question. After underwhelming performances during the first third of the season, I'm elated to see Inter Miami closing in on the spot in the top 7. However, we've got very lucky a couple of times in some recent matches. What's your honest view on Inter Miami's chances in advancing to the playoffs? It's very tempting. It's a very tempting vision right now, but I'm not sure if we can keep the momentum. Really hoping we will. Michelle, I'll let you start there.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really is a toss-up. I think they are talented enough to be a playoff team. I mean, I've seen all the teams play now. When they are at their best, when they are playing well, I think they absolutely are one of the top 7 teams in this conference. I don't think there's any question that they could be one of the top 7 teams in this conference or even one of the top 5 teams in the conference when they're really playing at their top. But when you look at the number of teams that are bunched together with just, 1 or 2 points between them, the difference between 5th place and 11th or whatever, 10th place, but the difference between 5th place and 10th place is not that much. If you lose a couple of games in a row, you slide pretty quickly. And if the teams ahead of you keep winning, they could play very well and still end up in 8th place if they don't, get several wins and have people that are ahead of them lose. So, you have to not only win, but you need some help from the other opponent, from the other teams. You need some of those teams ahead of them to lose, and you need to keep winning. I would still, if I were a betting person, which I'm not, but if I were, I would bet that they will finish in the top 7.
So during the beginning of the season or in preseason, Steve and I had our preseason predictions, and we both had Inter Miami making the playoffs. I said 7th place. Then we did our midseason predictions, and I said Inter Miami would not make the playoffs. So let's see how they do during this final stretch of this season. I agree with Jędrzej that the performances, like we said before, are leaving a lot to be desired, and I don't know if this is sustainable, especially once you get into crunch time, into one-off games where the pressure ramps up, and playoff games just have a different feel in MLS. They just have a different aura about them. When I covered playoff games in the Northeast at New York City FC games or the New York Red Bull games, there's just a different feeling outside the stadium. There's just a different buzz or electricity. You'll feel it if Inter Miami gets a home game this year at Drive Pink Stadium, surely. But yeah, I don't know if this is sustainable. And even for the season, even for the rest of the season, for getting the amount of points that they're going to need to stay above that playoff line permanently, I think they need to do better in the attack. Obviously, the results are what matter, but normally playing well is what gives you the best chances of winning a game. That's the thought process or the belief.
But honestly, I'll tell you this one thing. I would say one thing, Franco. It's not like all the teams are playing beautiful soccer in this league,
Sure.
and they're the only ones that aren't. You know what I mean? So, to have 7 wins out of 11 games and 4 clean sheets in a row, 3 ties, just 1 loss in 11 games. Other than New England Revolution, no other team has gotten as many points over the last 11 games than Miami. So New England Revolution has the most points in the last 11 games, and Inter Miami is in 2nd place for most points in the last 11 games. So in the run that they're in, even though they have not been playing as pretty as we think they can, none of the other teams I don't think are either, because they are getting the results somehow, some way. And other teams are not getting the results, whether they're playing pretty or not playing pretty. So I don't know. I mean, I think they would have to really have quite a little slip here to fall out. I think that they will finish above the playoff line.
I agree with you. The Inter Miami's getting the job done. It's doing what it has to do, and this is where we can disagree a bit. And we welcome debates here on this pod. So if you want to chime back, more than welcome to. But from a result standpoint, you see it and you say, yes, they're getting the job done. And that's what matters at the end of the day. But from a performance standpoint, they haven't really been doing a great job. Defensively, been spectacular. With the ball, not that good, especially as of late. Maybe over the stretch, they did have games where they played well, where they had chispas or sparks in terms of attacking performance levels, but they struggle in that regard, and they have for much of this year. So I think that is concerning, especially once you get into more meaningful games against better opposition. Inter Miami's remaining schedule and much of its recent schedule has been very favorable against teams that are in the lower half, mostly in the lower half of the Eastern Conference. So I think against better opponents, it could get trickier for the team if they don't pick this up. But that's looking at it from a performance standpoint. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add. If not, we can continue on to the next question.
No, let's go on. Who's the next question?
All right, next question comes from Don Cafecito. Do you like the new partnership with XBTO? Any official financial details? I read $4 to $5 million annually for 4 years. How does that compare to the rest of the league?
I think from what I know, Seattle is the highest at $6 million. Most of the teams that I know of that have been reported, the numbers are between 2 and 3 million, between 2 and 4, I guess I would say. There are several teams that have $4 million deals per year we're talking about. Some have 2, many have between 3 and 4 million. Seattle is 6. I believe that Inter Miami is close to, is probably in the 5 range. It's supposed to be kind of one of the best, but maybe not as high as Seattle.
So Michelle just answered that question perfectly, so I don't have much else to add there. Do I like the new partnership? I don't hate it. I'm a bit confused as to what XBTO does. So I'll be honest and admit that. Maybe I'll have to do a little more research and figure out. But crypto is not my wheelhouse like soccer is. So yeah, I have some brushing up to do there. Next question. This one comes from Sal Paradise. This is his question for this week's show, and I actually really like this question. It says, completely random question: does Inter Miami have a team chaplain or chaplain, which is Charlie Chaplin? I assume that's what he's asking. So do they have a jokester, someone in the locker room that plays around a lot?
Well, no, is he asking that, or are they asking if there's a chaplain, like a religious chaplain?
I don't. Maybe.
Spelled.
Well, it's capitalized. It's capitalized.
Capitalized. Because I took it to mean, do they have like a team religious advisor, team chaplain?
Well, maybe. I mean, yeah.
A lot of sports teams have a team chaplain.
I was going to ask him, but just didn't get around to it because I've been trying to upload videos to the Miami Total Football page. I was trying to get ready for this with you as well, so I didn't get to ask him which one he meant.
We can answer it both ways. Do they have a religious chaplain? And do they have a funny guy chaplain with a capital C?
So I like this question because it made me think. I was like, well, is there, from what we know, obviously we're not in the locker room, or at least I'm not. I don't know if you can sneak in there with in disguise with one of those little masks with the mustache, but I was really curious as to this one. I'm sure there's one, but I was like, who could it be? I was like, who could be the guy that is in there that really likes to joke around and play around?
Well, Phil has said that Christian Mccoon has a cheeky personality. He has used that phrase on numerous occasions, that he jokes around a lot. He laughs. He said that he gets along with everybody of all nationalities and he makes everybody laugh. He may be one of the funny guys. I don't know. Let me see. I'm going to look at the roster right now. Let's see.
Yeah, that's why I like this question, because it made me think, and I was like, wow, who could it be?
Okay.
I'll say this, and this is something that I caught at training. And again, I'm not in the locker room, so we could be completely off base. Gonzalo Higuain in the locker room could be the most funny guy, although we haven't heard that, but he could be the funniest guy in the locker room. I mean, hey, let's go back to preseason when he was doing his performance of Despacito. That was pretty humorous. But
right.
I think Jay Chapman, from what I saw in one practice session where he was bantering about with Lewis Morgan and Ryan Shawcross and Breck Shea, I thought he had a good sense of humor from what I could hear, because they were warming up, and I don't know if it was Lewis Morgan or if it was Breck Shea, but one of them was complaining about not being posted on Instagram, on Inter Miami's Instagram account, and Jay Chapman was like, "Shut up! They post you every day. What are you complaining about?" Which I had a good chuckle about. So maybe him, but probably, you know what? Maybe it's Christian Mccoon who has the most jokester personality, because I would imagine it has to be someone that can speak both languages and communicate with more guys. Although maybe not necessarily.
Dinosaur thing. He had his little celebration, his little dinosaur thing. I don't know. He may be cheeky. Phil keeps using the word cheeky for him. Cheeky is playful, that he's kind of a playful guy that makes everybody laugh and loosens everybody up a little bit.
Yeah, he's probably a good shout. I would say Jay Chapman's maybe in the conversation, but that's just our perception, obviously.
And then what about a team chaplain?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I've never heard of a team chaplain on this team.
No, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't even venture a guess because I just don't know.
They don't have an official one. I mean, we know they have official nutritionists, this, that, but I have not seen anything about a chaplain, nor have I heard anybody refer to a chaplain or anything like that.
If that's the intended question, maybe we can find out the answer for next week. Next question comes from Eric Yanis. Why isn't there goal line technology in MLS and in the game versus Toronto? Was it just me, or was that referee terrible? Michelle, do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
Well, they should definitely. I mean, I think, like you said before, MLS is always talking about wanting to be cutting edge with technology. And, United States has every technological advantage to have goal line technology. So why don't they? I don't know. I think that's a very good question. They probably should. And that goal the other night would have been a perfect opportunity to use it.
I guess I should have realized that from never seeing it in any game I've covered in MLS. But yeah, I guess it was an oversight on my part. But yeah, it's surprising that MLS doesn't have goal line technology. Very surprising. And I think it caught a lot of people by surprise. Was the referee terrible? I thought the referee actually was doing a pretty poor job. Even before the controversial plays, I thought some of the calls he made on the field were inconsistent. Some fouls he called that I thought were pretty soft, and other ones he did not call that looked like fouls. I think he obviously got the early red card and penalty kick to Gregory. He gave that, but then took that back because of VAR, so he corrected his mistake there. He also gave a correct red card to Kamar Lawrence, so he had some good decisions, but I felt he was a little bit too inconsistent by and large, so I agree that he was not great. Last question comes from Can't See Me. What do you expect for next season's squad to look like? 3 months ago, my predictions were very different from what I want moving forward. Today, I think we need to keep this backline intact. How do we do that, and at what cost? So I'll start here, Michelle, because, look, I think forecasting next season's squad is definitely an exercise to do on this podcast. I just think we should do it a little bit later on in the year when we have a better idea of the season Inter Miami has had, or we have a complete picture of the season Inter Miami has had, and we can better assess who we think should stay and who should go. But we can talk about the back three because, again, as I mentioned not too long ago, based on what Steve Brenner has said on this podcast, what he's reported, it's not going to happen, pretty much. It's not going to happen. Based on what he's reported, that it's not possible to keep this back three intact. Maybe it proves not to be the case. Maybe they move other pieces to try to make it happen. But by and large, from my understanding and from what Steve has said, one of Nicolas Figal and Leandro Gonzalez Pires will have to go, maybe even both of them. So it's going to be tough to keep this back three intact for 22 and beyond.
Well, I think the thing is that those two are the guys, it's not who you want to get rid of. It's who do the other teams want. You can put all your players out there with a little price tag on them. And what matters is what do the buyers want, and LGP and Figal are two players that other teams would want, would envy, would covet, because, it's hard to find a really good athletic defender who can also move the ball up. And both of those guys have really played outstanding this year. Both of them have played outstanding. They are the two that probably the team is getting the most inquiries about, from what I've heard also. Those are the guys that when other teams call them about being interested in maybe making a deal, the other teams are saying, okay, we're interested in Figal, we're interested in LGP. If it's about money and, the other DPs are Pizarro, which is another option to, I would think that there would be some Mexican team for sure, or not South American team or Mexican team that would be interested in him. He is in a position where, not that he's not a good player, but he may be more expendable and may be able to get other players to play the position he plays. I think he would be easier to replace than Figal or LGP, to be honest.
No, I agree with that. I think the question's more in line of the fact that, and this goes to the Matuidi Gate sanctions that will be in effect next year,
Yeah, they have to get some money. They have to sell an expensive player.
That's going, yeah. But that's going to affect. That's not going to necessarily affect the DPS because the DPS are a different threshold. That's more in line going to affect their allocation money players, their target allocation money players, which are Luis Morgan, Gregory, Leandro Gonzalez Pires, Nicolas Figal, Julian Carranza. I think Carranza is definitely a goner after this season. I just don't think he's done enough to warrant, I think, the $900,000 salary he's on. But I think, again, to make the numbers work from what's been reported, is that one of Nicolas Figal and Leandro Gonzalez Pires will have to go, just based off of that. It's not necessarily based off their performance or anything of the like. It's just in order for Inter Miami to make the numbers work, their salary budget and their salary cap for next year, that they're going to have to part ways with one of them, which may be why we started to hear some rumors in recent months about Leandro Gonzalez Pires being shopped around and Nicolas Figal being shopped around, because they just can't make the numbers work with those guys on the roster and the sanctions coming up. So I think it's going to be a tough decision. If you had to get rid of one of those two, I think we've been asked that before on this pod. I would say more than likely would have to get rid of Leandro Gonzalez Pires because he's older and probably has less sell-on value, whereas Nicolas Figal, maybe you could sell him, further down the line and make some money off of that. But I think that's more in line along the lines of where the question is coming from. At least that's my interpretation.
Yep, I would agree. I would agree with that. I think they're both very, very valuable to this team. Figal is younger and has a little bit more upside. He also doesn't get quite as many yellow cards.
Not as card prone.
Not as card prone, not as volatile. And very, very well liked, super hard worker. He's a warrior. I mean, he really is a warrior, and I know that Phil Neville thinks extremely highly of him. You can just tell by the way he talks about him. When he's talking about other players and he's praising other players, he uses words like he's Figal-like or he's this. You know what I mean? He clearly thinks very highly of him.
I'm going to go on a quick tangent. I get the criticism that Leandro Gonzalez Pires gets too many cards, but you kind of need someone like that, though. You need someone that's intimidating, that's not afraid to get physical. Well,
Gregory gets a lot of cards too.
Exactly, and that's part of their position. Their position is to break things up, and obviously the idea is to get the ball. But with just the sport works, you're bound to draw cards at center back position and at the defensive midfielder position because you're tasked to destroy, not create, like an attacking midfielder is, or like a winger or a striker is. They're tasked with creating, defenders are tasked with destroying, and with that comes naturally fouls and cards. I don't necessarily mind Leandro Gonzalez Pires' physicality. Maybe he could cut back a little bit to not get so many yellow cards, but I think that
he's cut down on the arguing. He has cut down on arguing with the refs. He was very argumentative early in the season, which, the refs don't like that, and they end up, if it's a choice of give a guy a yellow or not, and the guy's been jawing at him the whole game, they're going to give him the yellow. I think he's gotten better. I think he's controlling his temper more. During this whole good run that they've had, I think the whole team has been better about that than it was early. There was a lot of whining earlier in the season, and there isn't as much now.
Well, we'll leave it there. That's it for the Q&A session. Michelle, you made it through. I don't think you even broke a sweat, so thank you for joining us for that. Now
I am the Lewis Morgan of the podcast. I can go the full 90 minutes without a break, without a water break. Just give me the ball.
We appreciate you for that. Now we're going to ask you for one more thing, and that's a final thought. Give yours, then I will give mine, and we'll wrap up the show after that.
Let's see. My final thought is that this team, I am sensing a buzz about this team, and I have a sense that the crowds, if they win and do well for the next couple of games, I'm predicting that the crowds are going to creep up toward the 18,000 number again, and that the local media and national media are all going to start showing up and writing stories and telling the story of how did this team turn it around, how Phil Neville, who was, some people said, I remember the exact words, in any other league in the world, this is a fireable loss.
Absolutely.
This is a fireable loss. Okay. Anyway, he kept his job, and here he is now 11 games later, the toast of the town. So, it's been a really fun, it's been a roller coaster of a season. I am really curious to see what happens over the next 11 games. every game I go into it with a lot of anticipation now, because all these games really, really matter now, and they're going to either go up or they're going to go down in this playoff race. But I do get a sense that there's just more of an excitement. More people are asking me about it, just friends of mine on Facebook, this and that. People are paying attention. They know what's going on, and it's fun. I really think that this team, this city, this area, South Florida, which loves soccer so passionately, deserves to have a good team that they can get behind and get excited about. And, those La Familia, they have been amazing. Even in the darkest, worst days, they were still out there in the pouring rain when the team was losing. I'm very happy for them that they finally have a team that is worthy of all of their singing and all of their chanting and all of their positive energy. And I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season. In fact, here's how I will end. I will tell you a little inside information. My family's planning a ski trip, and my husband wanted us to leave on December 11th for the ski trip. Now, call me delusional or whatever. And I said, we can't leave on the 11th because that's the day of the MLS Cup final. And he's like, you think Miami is going to make the MLS Cup final? And I said, this is a crazy sport and you never know, but I can't take that chance. I don't want to plan a ski trip, buy the tickets, rent the condo, and then Miami somehow gets into the MLS Cup final and I ruin the whole vacation. So the Michelle Kaufman ski vacation has been pushed to December 13th on the very off chance that this team will make the MLS Cup final.
See, I would say that's a neat thing on your part, but since you threw me under the bus there with the fireable offense remark, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm just kidding. Look, I stick by what I said.
You would make the ski trip. You would make the ski trip on the 11th.
Well, I know. I always plan my vacations after the season, even after MLS Cup. I normally go to MLS Cup. I've gone to every MLS Cup since 2011, regardless of who's in it. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go or attend this year's. But look, I will say that I stick to what I said after that 5-0 loss against the New England Revolution. I do think that almost anywhere else in the world, given the situation Miami was in, I think you would probably get fired if you're a head coach. However, the ownership has stuck with him, so credit to the ownership group, as well as credit to Phil Neville and the players, but especially Phil Neville, because somehow, with almost the exact same team, he's had them flip a switch and become completely different and much more competitive this season over the last couple of months. So kudos to him. I even told him that on a recent press conference, and he had a nice smile there because he obviously had been criticized quite a bit, by myself included. My final thought is, this is not inside information, this is just something to keep an eye on. I thought it was very curious that Inter Miami, having only 5 players on the bench, 5 field players on the bench, they didn't take Edison Ascona to the game on Tuesday versus Toronto, and that he was instead left at home to watch on TV, especially after he dressed in the weekend match against the Columbus Crew. Don't know what that's about, not sure why he was left behind, if it was just so he could focus on Fort Lauderdale CF, but given that it's an MLS game and you're in a playoff push, you would imagine that would be more of a priority than him playing with Fort Lauderdale, just having that extra weapon for the attack, because Inter Miami, in a game like this, clearly needed something else, needed some more ideas, and maybe giving him 5-10 minutes could have been a possibility. So think that's something that bears watching. Not sure what that was about, but anyway, I'll just leave that one. And I have a second final thought, actually, and I almost forgot it. Thank you to you, Michelle, for actually getting me to do more work for the Miami Herald as of late. I want to say thank you publicly. I know I've done so in private on a number of occasions, but thank you for the opportunity, for helping get those chances to do so. I covered a high school football game last week. It ended up being a school that Jorge Mas is well ingrained with, or well involved with, and that is Columbus. So that was a different experience for me, but thank you anyway, Michelle, for that, because without you, I don't think that would have been possible. But that does it for this week's show. So thank you again to Michelle for joining us. Thank you guys again for listening to this second episode this week. We'll be back early next week to recap this match against the New York Red Bulls and preview the midweek match against Nashville SC. Don't forget to give us a follow on all our social media accounts and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. For Michelle Kaufman, I am Franco Panizo. This is Miami Total Football Radio. I will talk to you guys again